Yeah, the Israeli press is saying that Israel is aiming to pressure you guys to tie whatever restoration or resumption of talks with the Palestinians or relations or aid or anything to them committing themselves to refraining from going to the ICC. Is that what's going on?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that once more?
Yes. Condition resumption of relations and aid to the Palestinians to them refraining from going to the ICC.
Look, we have spoken here before about our intent to provide assistance to the benefit of all Palestinians, including to Palestinian refugees. We are in the process of determining how to move forward with the resumption of that assistance, consistent with U.S. law, consistent with our interests.
But you're not going to make that contingent on them refraining publicly from going to the.
We are going to make it contingent on our values and our interests.
Just a couple more, if you would indulge me. The Secretary of State said Monday, when he on his interview with CNN, that he appealed to both sides not to take any unilateral measures that may, hinder whatever process may go on. Today, the Israeli press is also reporting that the Jewish National Fund is set to approve a new policy on Sunday that will allow the organization to officially purchase land in the West Bank for potential expansion. Now, this did not happen in the past, and the U.S. has looked, not too kindly on such an effort. What would be your reaction if this happened?
Well, I think there's a broad point at play here, and that point is this. We believe it is critical to refrain from unilateral steps that exacerbate tensions and that undercut efforts to advance a negotiated two-state solution. And unilateral steps might include annexation of territory, settlement activity, demolitions, incitement to violence, the provision of compensation for individuals imprisoned for acts of terrorism. We have continued to emphasize that it is critical to refrain from all of those activities.
Last one, really quick. Now, also the Secretary of State, did not respond to a question on East Jerusalem. Now, if you're calling for a two-state solution, there seems to be an international consensus that if the Palestinians are to have their state and to have a capital for that state, it will be in East Jerusalem. So why would the Secretary sort of refrain and say, we must leave this to final status issues and so on?
Well, this has been the longstanding policy of the United States, and I think this is what the Secretary was referring to. The ultimate status of Jerusalem is, in fact, a final status issue, which will need to be resolved by the parties in the context of direct negotiations. That is not a change to longstanding policy.
One more on the Palestinian issue.
Yep.
So it's not long-standing policy. The previous Secretary of State issued guidance saying that he does not think that Israeli settlements in the West Bank or other Palestinian land are illegal under international law. Is that still the policy of this administration? Do you still abide by that guidance? Has the guidance been revised or is it being reviewed?
We abide by the principle that I just invoked in response to Saeed's question. We believe it's critical for Israel and the Palestinian Authority to refrain from unilateral steps that exacerbate tensions and undercut efforts to advance a negotiated two-state solution.
So there has been no change in the Secretary's revocation of the Hansel memorandum?
What we have said?
No, I don't want to know what you've said. I want to know whether there's been a change in that, because it was a big deal when he basically said that is no longer the policy of the United States.
What we have said, and this is the principle that is at play, is that we encourage Israel and the Palestinians to avoid unilateral steps that put the prospects of a two-state solution.
Also, does that mean then that there has been no change in the previous administration's decision on passport on using Jerusalem, Israel?
We have no changes to announce to the current guidance on passports.